Hey, welcome to Fire Engineering's Humpday Hangout, to our show, The Issues and Challenges in Today's Fire Service. I'm Chief Rick Lasky, and my co-host, Assistant Chief Terry McGrath from Louisville, as duty calls, is at a structure fire. They've got a school fire in Louisville right now, a fire on the roof, the Dale Jackson Center over at Edmonds. It's a great facility, so I hope there's a lot for young teens when it comes to career guidance and getting them ready and just about every kind of job or profession you could think. Hopefully there's not too much damage there. And as always, if you want to throw any questions to us, fire them off to us on Twitter. We'll do our best to answer them. We usually get a ton of them, but we try to grab them when we can. Make sure you add hashtag FE Talk for Fire Engineering Talk. And again, we'll get to you. And hopefully we'll get Terry with us a little bit later. Chief Bobby Halton is flying today. Bobby was going to be with us as well. But hey, today we're going to be hanging out and talking shop with I'll just say one of my heroes, and to a lot of people, when you talk about people making a difference, there's a lot of folks out there that do their best and they try hard and come up with different ideas to assist those in need, whether it's doing something at a food shelter or homeless, or we've got different things going on in public safety, but this guy's phenomenal, what he's doing for veterans and first responders. And I just want to welcome today our special guest is Ryan "Birdman" Parrott. Ryan, welcome, buddy.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me. It's exciting.
Oh, no, this is great. And I said I apologize. Like I said, I know you and Terry hooked up a few years ago. We had you out to Keeping Tradition Alive, the Pipes and Drums and Honor Guard Symposium in Louisville. This was their 11th year. 11 years, hard to imagine. Golly, 11 years ago we started that. And I remember you keynoting, and I've got to visit with you a couple other times. And but for our viewers, I just want to take a moment. And Ryan's obviously a very humble guy, but I just want to take a little bit from his bio, folks, to explain to you about Ryan's background. Ryan "Birdman" Parrott is an author, public speaker, and founder of two nonprofits benefiting veterans and first responders, which obviously you know how I feel about first responders, and obviously how I feel about veterans, especially my son being a Navy corpsman, an FMF corpsman we'll talk about a little bit. Ryan is originally from Detroit, Michigan, and enlisted in the Navy after watching the Twin Towers fall on 9/11. He served 8 years as United States Navy SEAL attached to Team 7. He completed 3 combat tours to Iraq before being assigned to the Advanced Training Command as an instructor. After completing his service, Ryan moved to Dallas, and in 2012, Ryan established, and I know a ton of you have heard about this, Sons of the Flag, to help burn survivors and their families find the help and medical attention they deserve. He's also the founder of the Bird's Eye View Project, addressing the extreme needs of veterans and first responders through extreme sports. Ryan is the author of Sons of the Flag, a real account from the last 100 years of American service. Ryan, again, thanks, buddy, for joining us. This is awesome, pal.
Well, it's my honor, and I appreciate it. And I cannot believe how many helmets you got up on the wall behind you.
Well, I was just looking at yours. I'm like, this is my own. I have I'm a big fire buff, and I teach history of the fire service, and I've got my own little museum. And my last office was like 28 feet long, so I've got stuff all over here. It's kind of my little de-stressing sanctuary, if you will. But hey, you know what? I want to ask you a question about yourself. You're kind of all over the place, doing great things. Can we roll things backwards? And I'd love for you to explain to our guests. It's easy to say, you enlisted after watching the towers fall 9/11, but I lost 41 friends on September 11th. Some very good friends. I was on the phone with Andy Fredericks the day before, who we lost that day, and people that taught for us and taught with us, and my mentors, and I knew a bunch more, but 41. And can you kind of explain, what were you feeling? I mean, I know we were all kind of pissed off and angry, but what was going through your head, buddy, especially to turn around and enlist?
Well, that's a great question. Let me start off. I'm extremely sorry for your loss. I mean, we all lost, great Americans. Didn't know anybody at 9/11 or in the FDNY. But I'm really sorry for your loss. That's never yeah, rolling it back. I mean, I don't think I'll ever forget the feelings and the emotions that went through, and I don't think anybody will, that moment that they realized what was actually happening. But taking it back even further than that, I was complete disaster growing up. You know, I was never a kid that was in and out of jail, but I just had no ambitions to do anything in life. I didn't care about anything. I played sports, but I could have been better than I was. And so my drive, there was no drive. And there was a teacher who was a Marine in Vietnam who was always talking about the Marine Corps. And this one particular day, he mentioned the Navy SEALs. And we'd never heard of SEALs before. There was not a whole lot out on St. Louis, no books, no movies, none of that stuff. But he made it sound so unattainable that I said, well, if it's impossible, then that's exactly what I want to do. And that's quite funny considering I was failing every subject in school. But that wasn't enough. You know, he'd got me a Reader's Digest magazine, which I still have to this day. And I read through it and I was just hooked on it, but I didn't do anything to change my life. I went back to screwing off, didn't do anything. And then I remember sitting in class, we were typing and the TV went on. And that's back when you had those big old box TVs with the VHS tapes that slid into them, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember seeing this just grainy TV and seeing those towers and one of them on fire and smoking. And nobody knew what to make of it right then and there. But I remember seeing the second one on national TV explode. And then as we were just sitting there watching this, and they said it's a possible terrorist attack. And you'd heard in the news about some elevated stuff going on in Iraq, Afghanistan, and out in the Middle East. But I knew it was more than that. I think anybody who cares about our country knew that it was more than that. That doesn't happen twice. And toying around with the idea I want to join, I said, okay, well, this is my sign right here.
Yeah.
God telling me that I need to get up off my ass and I need to go do something about it. And I need to start being a fool or stop being a fool. And I need to get after it. So I left right there and then from school. I was heading out the door when my government teacher pulled me. He's like, Parrott, where the hell do you think you're going? I was like, you see what happened on the TV today? And he knew exactly what I was going to do. So he let me go. So I went to the recruiter station and I said, it's time. I'm ready to do this. Let's get it going. And I was too young. They wouldn't let me join yet. So I had to wait a couple months with the parental signature, and then I finally got my chance. But that really, it struck a chord with me because I realized that it wasn't just two buildings falling. It was people getting killed, murdered, and that was our people. And somebody did that. And if myself could add to the mix of people going over there to stop that from ever happening again and to honor those we lost in cold-blooded murder, well, you know what? I'm going to give it everything I got. And why not do it with some of the best in the world? Why not join the SEAL teams and try? So that's exactly what I did.
Well, and what's kind of amazing about that is, the whole point of, being too young. So many people I've talked to, so many veterans, it was like, and you really read about this like during World War II when they were just lying and doing whatever they could to get in because they just wanted to go fight, these awful people. And you had a couple months to, I won't say chill, but you know what I'm saying, where, a lot of people, they get wound up and they're going to go do something. And after a while they go, well, and they go other ways. And you weren't, you were still passionate about serving and about making a difference. And that says something itself. And now you said something that struck a personal little chord with me is my son. I love my son. Yesterday was his birthday. He's 29. He did, he called me. He was on the way. He was doing Texas Tech. He went to Texas Tech for 2 years, but all through high school, he kind of struggled. And same thing in college, with grades and different things. And I always said the accelerated learners, they tend to daydream in class. They tend to get bored. They tend to not focus or whatever. And he was a big time hockey player. So he could tell you every flex stick that this guy used and this guy used, and Brett Hall uses one that's like this, and then Mike Bonanno's, and he knew because it was something he loved, he was passionate about. Sure. And even when he went to college, he was just, he was doing okay, but not. And then he just said, he called me, he says, Dad, I'm on my way home for spring break. We got a surprise for you. I just put my hand up. I joined the United States Navy, and I'm going to be Navy SEAL. And my son's 6'4", he's a CrossFit trainer, he's a hockey player, and I'm like, it's more than just like CrossFit, don't you? He's like, yeah, I know, but I'm going to do it. I'm in 6 years. I already passed. They told me stop doing pull-ups and push-ups. I said, okay. So a good buddy of ours, a friend of mine, Marcus Luttrell, I call him Marcus, former SEAL. And I said, can we come down and take you to lunch and just we talk SEAL life with my boy? He goes, I got one better. You said spring break. I said, yeah. He goes, why don't you drop him off with me, for the week? And so he did about 5 days with him, and he came back and he's coming to my office and he's all standing like this, right? He's like, Dad, Marcus has me all squared away, talking like military stuff, and he's not in yet. He said, he told me, look, and you hopefully get a visit a little bit about what it takes to get through the training. Everybody saw the shows, everybody saw the specials, but what it takes to become a SEAL like yourself is absolutely incredible. He said, look, he told me, forget it was less than 10%, whatever the number is, makes it out of buds because it's so hard, so difficult. He goes, look, I'm supposed to be a corpsman like Marcus. I'm supposed to be a medic. He goes, focus on that and then worry about it later on. And he fell in love with being a combat medic. He never went into that end of things. He was sent to the green side, attached to the Marines, and did his tours and stuff. And, we're working through some issues PTSD wise. But, I just know, like I said, when you said that, I'm sitting there thinking that was my son. He's a great young man, but he was focusing, and you know what I'm saying. It's now, and I want to go where I want to take this was to the teacher, the former Marine. I know better to say ex-Marine. My dad's one. It's funny how different people in our lives kind of bump us into certain directions, and you sit there, you think about your mentors and people in life, and we always tend to just kind of blow them off after a while. And then you sit down, you think about it, you go, God, I wish I had said something to that person. Or I wish I'd said something to that person to say thank you. Or, when I was struggling, I really wasn't sure about which direction I want to go in life, and you helped me. I guess that would be one of my questions was, the boss just joined us. Did you ever talk to your teacher, the Marine, after that, after you went through everything, Ryan?
Yeah, I actually got to go back after I became a SEAL, and I went back to his classroom, and he goes, "Holy cow, everybody, it's Ryan Parrott!" And walked into the classroom with my uniform on, and I told him, "Hey, I just want to let you know I appreciate everything, and just so you know, I took my pea coat off. It's dead of winter in Michigan." Sure enough, I had the trident and the full uniform going, and he could not believe that I'd made it through the program, and I kind of couldn't believe it either.
Yeah, but like I said, how cool is that? Like we're talking about mentors and people make a difference. And for when you said for someone to plant that idea, I just think it's absolutely incredible.
This right here was the magazine that he gave me, and it's 8-9 pages, and that's all it took for me to want to change my life to become a SEAL. This is called The Making of an American Warrior. Follows Jeff Wright, and he was a Marine who went into the SEAL program to see if he had what it takes. And I think this is the first book I ever read, and I was in 11th grade when I read it, and it's 8 pages, so I did a pretty good job.
Well, like I said, and to those of us or those that are watching out there, me, I'm a big one on the whole mentor thing. I wish more people did it, spend time with people, but it doesn't take. Here's a great example. It doesn't take. You don't have to have like all kind of big budget to make a difference in people's lives. You don't have to have a program. You just have to care about people. And I had someone early in my life, a police officer that, when I was growing up right outside Chicago, Ryan, my brother got sick when I was 8 years. I was 12. He was 8. He passed away 18 months later. And, long story short, I ended up hanging with the wrong firefighters' kids. And I tell people, I do a leadership program for high school students and for some middle schoolers about same thing. I had no direction. I was getting in trouble. We were breaking into cars and breaking into houses and stealing stuff. We weren't getting away with anything. And it took a cop, Frank Sinicki, that brought me in the police station. I was 14 years old, 15, you just turned 15, in handcuffs, and said, the only way I'm going to keep you from going to jail is I'm going to make you a police cadet. And I'm like, no, I don't think you understand. I'm going to be a firefighter. I'm not going to be a cop. He's like, no. When the Boy Scouts have this new program called the Explorers, where we have a meeting Monday night, I need you at 6 o'clock, I need your uniform size. I go, no. I don't think you understand. I'm not doing this. I'm going to be a fighter. He goes, I don't think you understand. If you don't do this, you're going to the Audi home tonight. I said, all right, so here's my sizes. I'll see you at 6 o'clock Monday. And except for a couple minor blips, you get a little fight or whatever in high school, it was that one person. And I have that black and white photo of that whole precinct of all those cops standing there and this big arrow pointing to him, and it says saved. And I'm like, one person in a kind of just chance conversation changed me forever. So I just thought that I didn't want to go past that. I thought that was so cool that that this teacher, that did this for you and just spun you in that direction. So that's awesome.
Yeah. And we got another guy who joined us.
Yeah. Chief Bobby Hall. Bobby, I thought you were flying, buddy. We got you back, pal.
I'm on the injured reserve list.
I saw you talking to the dinosaurs at the airport with your sling on. So I'm like, he's got some good meds.
I did the MRI on Sunday, and going to see the surgeon tomorrow. Figure out what to do about it.
Well, Bobby, Ryan's with us. Terry set this up. Terry's actually they got a school fire. You remember over at Edmonds in Louisville, they got the Dale Jackson Career Center. So we just post some pictures. Got a pretty good roof fire there. So hoping they got that knocked. But he's either going to join us a little bit or we're going to miss him. But we were talking a couple of months ago about our guests, and Terry's like, we need to have Ryan come on, man. We need to have him come on and talk about what he's doing. And there's so many people that ask you questions. I know they ask you questions about him when you're traveling. That here we are, and we got him. And I just had him, Bobby, just walk us through kind of, how pissed he was, like a lot of us on September 11th, and the motivation behind that to enlisting and becoming an Navy SEAL. And we're talking about his one teacher, this former Marine, that is the one that recommended that, and that's gave him that Reader's Digest, and that's where we're kind of at with things. Is just talking about his devotion to duty and what he did as a SEAL.
Well, I ran into this character. Well, it was about 4 or 5 years ago, Ryan.
Yeah, 5 years ago, believe it or not.
Holy mackerel! Yeah, about 5 years ago, we bumped into each other at FDIC, and in typical firefighter fashion, we met by busting each other's chops.
And I think he missed 2 other meetings after us because he hung around, kept busting chops. When you're hanging around with the SEAL and a bunch of FDNY guys, and get.
But I think what's so neat about Ryan and what he's doing, and I know we'll get into that in a little bit about the Sons of the Flag and Bird's Eye View Project and all the other things that Ryan's doing to help his fellow not only his fellow warfighters, but his fellow public safety folks, cops and firefighters, which is just amazing. But the whole, I think the bonding between the warfighters, whether they're the elite groups with the SEALs and the Rangers and the Green Beret and all of the PJs, all the fantastic special ops guys and gals, but also the incredible camaraderie of all the military folks with the first responder folks. And I think it's just that what's so great about what Ryan's doing is that it shows that we're really one team. McChrystal nailed it with the team of teams concepts, and we need the warfighters to step up at times, and we need the public safety folks, the cops, the firefighters, to step up at other times. But what's really important, and Ryan will back me up on this, that when those guys really get in trouble, the SEALs, the special operators, who do they call? Well, if you take a look at the case of Marcus Luttrell, who is one of Ryan's friends, great guy, the lone survivor. He had to dial 911 in the end to get rescued by Chris Perchecki, who was a PJ, who was also an Albuquerque firefighter. So when the warfighters get jammed up, they call the fire department, and we show up. Of course, Chris at the time was working as a PJ, but I think it's kind of a neat, and Rick was talking about the serendipity of it, right? Chris Perchecki was a PJ, left the PJs, went back and went into the Albuquerque Fire Department. 9/11 happened, went back into the PJs, and then was on I think it was a guard. They were a guard unit at the time out of Arizona. They had 2 weeks left on their deployment. That tragedy happened with the 18 special operators were killed looking for the 4 missing SEALs. Perchecki volunteered with his crew, Spanky Peterson, some other people, their names elude me, but that brotherhood, that they didn't have to take that mission, and they knew how dangerous it was. And it just shows how there's a cadre of people in society who are willing to put themselves at great personal risk for others. Sometimes others they may not even know, but they're willing to take those kinds of chances. And I think Ryan's life is if you look at Ryan's life, and he'll tell you about his mom and the tremendous influence his mom had on him, which is a really cool story also. And his dad, and how much that family influence helps to move people toward doing great, incredibly great things, and not just for themselves, but for their country, for other, whether it's being on rescue missions, whether it's doing CPR in a crowded restaurant, whether it's battling a fire in a school so that kids can go to school tomorrow and have a safe environment. It's all so critically important, and I think that what's so neat about the Sons of the Flag is that it brings it all together, and Ryan captures it, I think, better than anybody, because I know a lot of special operators just from the fire service and having been introduced to them, and wonderful folks. The fellows that run O2X, Adam and Paul, amazing Navy SEALs. Scott Moore, who was kind enough to come visit with us, Rear Admiral Moore. And what's so neat about these guys, when you meet them, and when you read Ryan's book, it's not about his exploits as a SEAL. It's about his exploits as a person. And the real operators never tell you about their operations. They tell you about their friends, and they tell you about their organization. And that's why I think it's so important in today's conversation, and why I'm so glad I was able to make it, albeit not under the best circumstances. I wanted more people to learn about what the Sons are really doing. And it's so amazing. They're not just raising money to send somebody here or do something there. They're getting men and women involved in burn care. They're providing housing. They're providing prosthetics. They're providing care to children that otherwise would have been passed over. And beyond that, they're helping us recapture that esprit de corps that is so necessary, especially in today's high-paced, fast, grossly impersonal society. If you can get out to Dallas to either the movie event, which I'm going to ask Ryan to talk about, and all that, it's amazing. And one thing I think that's important to mention too is that one of the original frogmen just celebrated his 93rd birthday. He was at FDIC. And what was interesting about him, he was in the first Buds class, and his name's escaping me at the moment. I have his book.
Bill Dawson.
Yeah, he just turned 93, and he was at FDIC. And after he left the Frogmen at the time, he became a DC firefighter.
Oh yeah.
And we have his book. If you ever want to purchase his book, before there were SEALs, there were frogs. He'll autograph it for you. He's just the neatest guy in the world. He's always at the show. And so Ryan, why don't you talk to us a little bit about, the Sons of the Flag and how folks can get involved, and some of the things you're doing, some of the stuff you have coming up.
Well, Bobby, let me jump in here just for 1 second before Ryan. And I wanted to, somebody sent me a little tweet message here on Twitter. And this goes back to, I know what Ryan, believes in more than anybody else, being a SEAL, the whole never leaving, no one left behind. That big deal with the SEALs. No one is ever left behind. And I thought, just this is one person, hashtag no one left behind. But it's pretty cool. But, and it's, I think everybody we've ever talked to that's been a SEAL, and everything you've read about them, that's it. No one's, I don't care what it is, no one is ever left behind. And now let's take that in another direction with what Ryan's doing. And, we talk about no one left behind. When you see what his organization, or both of his actually nonprofits, are doing, we're taking no one left behind to a whole nother level too. And I just want to throw that in. I thought that was pretty cool. It made me think about it, because we're away from the battlefield, if you will, and he's still taking care of everybody. So I had to throw that in there.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. A big thing to me, the keyword you mentioned, battlefield. I mean, a battlefield takes many shapes and forms. So we're currently in our own battlefield here with Sons of the Flag. Multiple other people. I mean, Chief McGrath is fighting a fire right now. He's in his own battlefield. So there's so many different shapes and forms of battlefields, and it's just about plugging in and getting after it. And we always say bust them. That means get after it or send it. Why not? It's for people who have that heart to serve any kind of cause, or just to serve, period. You want more. You want to continue to do more. And it's bound in our core. And so it's not even a thought. It's not like, okay, we got to go rescue these guys. It's like, okay, when are we going? I mean, easy day, give me more. Let's do it again. And then we just get back off that battlefield and we're exhausted and we're tired and we refuel with some water and maybe some Rippets from overseas, which is kind of the equivalent of Red Bull. And then we go get some more, and keep feeding me more, because I'm not good when I'm bored, when I'm sitting around, when I'm sterile. I need to get after it. I need to keep going, hard charging. And that's what makes us all good. So more importantly, talking back about your son and having some of his struggles personally right now with what he saw overseas, tell him to get back in the fight. You never leave the fight. Fight may change, be a little different, but always stay in the fight, and that keeps you away from really getting back to thinking about things you shouldn't be.
He did, but he's got his, he just had some artwork done on his shoulder with his deployment times, and it's the Navy. It's the old ship with the sails and the anchor, and he's got the sun behind it. It's a really old Navy picture, I guess, but underneath on his arm here, he's got the word perseverance. Just going. That's it. That's all the way across his tattoo. He's got tattoo right there. Anytime he looks at, when he's working out, whatever he's doing, perseverance to remind him to.
Wow. I would never do that. Tattoos scare me.
Perseverance. He's doing good. But walk us back, Ryan. For those of our viewers those few that may not know you or know your background. How did and we've all read it. Obviously, Bobby and I are very familiar with it. But how did you come up with? I mean, I know you went through a very traumatic time, while you were deployed. And how did you come up with the concept for the program?
Yeah, Ryan, tell us how you got your wings.
For Sons of the Flag.
Come on, Bird. Tell the Bird story.
Yeah, well, so sure enough, on your first deployment, it's. You shut up and you listen, just like being a rookie in the fire department, brand new, newbie, whatever you call them, probie. You shut up, you learn, you listen, you do your job, and you jump on a freight train that's moving 100 miles an hour, and you drink through a fire hose, learning and adapting, and then just doing the job, and you hope to make it out on the back end. And if you do, then you might be respected and brought into the community as one of the brotherhood. So it's the same across the board. But ultimately, there's that inherent cockiness that comes with being part of something when you're on a team and brand new. You think, oh, I've made it. I'm brand new to the SEAL program, 20 years old. Nothing can hurt me, break me, whatever. I'm never going to tell the guys over me that I'm better than them. And I might be, I might not be. Most of the time I'm not. But it's just this inherent cockiness. And I call it's controlled, confidence. But you have this level of cockiness because you have to. If you're going to get into dangerous scenarios, you have to own it. You have to believe that you can do anything to conquer it. So sure enough, I'm a newbie, and there's another new guy in the platoon. And so my nickname was Soup, and the other new guy was Sandwich. We were that duo. And it was awesome. I was like, how do I get away from this crap? And at the end of the day, like, just, shut up, listen, and learn. So I did. And finally, at the end of the whole thing, at the end of our workup getting ready to deploy, they give you a platoon patch. That basically means you've trained, you've earned status on our team as our platoon. And even though you're a new guy, we want you to come with us. So they patched me up, gave me my platoon patch, which I'm super excited about. I'm pulling out of the same drawer for everything, but that's my patch right there. See it? That's SEAL Team 7 Alpha Platoon. Greatest thing I ever was awarded in my life. But I got that patch, and then, of course, what happens then? You're excited. There's a little level of the cockiness, maybe raises a little bit more. Oh, now I'm full on frogman. Awesome. Let's do this. Let's go to war. I know nothing about war, never been there. I got it all. And you carry that with you through operation after operation, but ultimately you're learning as you go. You're not leading the charge on anything. You're just learning. And you get to a point where it becomes the normal day routine and you're confident in your duties. And then at that point in time, something catches you by surprise that you were not ready for, and it completely collapses you. And for me, it was driving down the road. We were on Route Michigan, which is quite funny because I'm from Michigan. So driving on the same damn road that it was named after my home state. But most dangerous road in Iraq at the time, 2005, May, June time. And we were the fifth car in the convoy coming back from a mission and nothing to write home about. And then I just remember this explosion and this humongous fireball exploding through the cockpit of our Hummer. It was a pressure-plated IED, apparently a 155 shell. which is a massive IED, and it blew me straight out of the turret into the sky. I was the gunner. And so going for a flight and living through it, I come back to the base and they say, dude, heard you went flying. And I was like, well, yeah, I'm okay too, just so you know, I'm good. And they said, well, that's awesome.
That didn't matter.
The Birdman, he flew, and it was like that. And that was it. And then I remember, I was like, hey, Birdman, cool. And the next day, all my gear, all my stuff was Birdman. I was like, whoa, all right, new nickname, upgrades. I'm getting away from soup, and I don't ever want to go back to it because you can. But I went to Birdman, and it stuck. And now doing the charity stuff here in Dallas, Texas, you know, I think half the people believe that my name is Birdman Parrott as opposed to my first name. But going back to that IED experience, you know, it's, you know, everybody who serves has a taste of, you know, what God can really do in times of war, because we shouldn't be here. You know, an IED is designed to kill you. That is the only thing it's designed for. And it hit us dead on. And so many of our teammates and our brothers and sisters that have fought and run through those same IEDs they're not here anymore. They have paid the ultimate sacrifice. So why? And if you really want to go down that road to figure out why, you don't have to travel a long road. It's because God's got something stored for me and for other people to do things that are greater than ourselves for the rest of our life while we have our time here on this earth. So didn't know it at the time, but I was very blessed to have made it through that. And everybody, because we work together as such a cohesive unit, because you talked about in the beginning, it's a brotherhood, that camaraderie. We work together very well. Don't want to see a man left behind. Don't want anybody to get hurt. 22 minutes, everybody was under a knife getting surgery, and everybody lived.
Well, it's just, you know, and I know, I mean, it just, I can't imagine. I mean, you know, Bobby, we could talk about, you know, things we've done in the fire service that, you know, okay, you know, tough times, bad fires, things like that, but I can't imagine. And I know, you know, you were talking about that, and my son actually, a while back gave me actually the picture of his first tour when they hit an IED, and you know, he ended up hurting his knee and his back and his shoulder and things. But after that, he said, Daddy, the hardest thing was every time you're in your rig and you hit a bump, you're thinking that, you know, he goes, every little bump we'd hit, it's like, he goes, that was it forever. He goes, I just couldn't get rid of that. Every time we're out somewhere, you know, and you hit something, you think it's another one. And I just can't imagine, you know, what you went through, what your team, you know, your partners went through in that. And like you said, to survive that is incredible, absolutely incredible.
Well, it's just, I mean, it's just a switch, right? It's a switch that you have to learn how to utilize. You turn it on when you need to turn it on, you turn it off when you don't need to. When you come home, you decompress, turn the switch off. But when you're switched on, everything is, you know, you're always on point. You're always looking out for what's going on, if you're going to get blown up or shot at or whatever, where the bad guys are. When we're diving underwater, doesn't matter if it's seaweed or a guppy, it's a shark, right? So you're always switched on because you just never know. And then when it turns out to be a guppy or your buddy playing with you that you didn't see, you go punch him in the face and you move on. But when it's war, you can't do that. You have to fight, and you have to make it through it and win the fight.
So I think what's important too, and to keep the story moving forward, because I want people to hear the whole story and learn about all the incredible opportunities to get involved. Because I don't think, you know, just like Gary Sinise is moving mountains, Ryan Parrott's moving mountains to make sure that nobody gets left behind. No cop, no firefighter, no kid, no EMT, nobody in the military ever gets left behind if we have anything to say about it. So Ryan, you went through this incredible experience. Some of the other men in your Humvee were not as fortunate as you were, and suffered some pretty catastrophic burns. And what Ryan learned, as we all know in the fire service, is that burn care has various degrees, right? Depending on where you are in the country, your geographic location, or your facility's capabilities, your burn care can be something from the 1950s, or it can be as cutting edge as, you know, high level stem injections and such, and amazing burn care. But burn care is like a lot of pharmaceuticals. It's an orphan type thing because it doesn't happen that often. And there's not a lot of money involved in it. It's not like plastic surgery. It's not like cardiac surgery. So the the incentives for really good, and I'm not putting down the people who do cardiac surgery. I'm not saying that, but the incentives for medicine to be at the level that we needed to be at as firefighters and law enforcement officers and military people, it's not uniform across the country. So subsequently, Ryan, you saw that in your fellow SEALs, and then tell us real quick what you did, what you've established, what you're doing, and how we can get involved.
Absolutely. Well, so we started Sons of the Flag in January 2012 to be the resource for burn survivors. And if you can picture yourself standing in an open field and you look around and it's nothing but a giant minefield, that's exactly how I felt when I started this, because couldn't get the time of day from a doctor who was a burn surgeon, had no idea where to go with it, didn't have anybody that was fired up about burn care. And you have to go and influence people on getting excited about something we don't like to talk about or even look at. And so I was just looking at, okay, if I step here, am I going to get blown up? Am I going to hit a roadblock here? What is it? But once you get that thing inside you, that what I call the spark, once you have that spark go off, it says, okay, move it forward, let's bust them. I said, we're going to start this. So I accumulated a team of awesome dudes in Dallas, Texas, to create a board of directors. And I said, I don't even know what we're going to do, guys. But I had a meeting with an Army Ranger who was severely burned in an IED in Afghanistan. He has complete disfigurement. I've never seen anything like that before, even to the tune of our injuries. Never seen anything like his. And that is a crying shame. But what pissed me off is that he said this was as good as it gets for me. Now, it doesn't matter what age you are, but we always say, you know, you go over there as a young buck and you come back and you're still young, but now you spend your whole adult life in a burn unit or a different hospital for amputees or whatever it may be. But your whole adult life is living in a burn unit or a hospital trying to recover and then get back to some kind of normalcy. We can do far better as Americans to help them coming back. I was very fortunate. I walked back with all 4 limbs and I've got enough gas in the tank to kick some ass. But some don't have that. So it's our time, it's our chance to step up to help those that are not as fortunate who have paid that sacrifice. So we started the Sons of the Flag, couldn't figure out where to go. We were literally here trying to raise some money and had no idea what the direction was. And then I get reached out to a guy named Greg Turnell. Greg's a DC firefighter, legacy firefighter out there at the rescue company. He's been on the job 30 years. And he just caught me on LinkedIn and said, hey, I love what you're doing, this mission statement. I want to get involved. And so that's the running joke, as we grew nationally before we ever grew locally. But I said, oh my gosh, there's a guy, this is real. And I never thought about, wow, this doesn't just pertain to military. It pertains to the fire service, first responders, civilians. It pertains to everybody. Accidents happen. So at first what we said, we know, let's look through this, and I can't find anything on the website or online on helping burn care. So let's go talk to hospitals. Let's engage with them and find out where their weak points are, what's latest and greatest. And what we've come to find over the last 6 years, because I've traveled to multiple burn units, talked with tons of burn surgeons, we're back to, we're 40 years behind the power curve right now. Money hasn't really gone into research and development at a high level for burn care since the Vietnam era. And why is it that the United States of America is so reactive towards waiting until something traumatic happens to get behind it and fix it? Let's be more proactive in the times of peace to fix the problem so that when the times of chaos happen, we're set up and ready to go for it. That's what we train for in the fire service and the military. That's how we train. We have contingencies in place, but we have our standard. And so that's what we did. We said, let's fund these research panels that are going on. Let's get them approved. And we looked at the numbers that it was going to cost to do that, and they were exponentially, I mean, they're huge. So looking at that, I said, well, we're a tiny little charity. We can't fund these things. So how do we be more efficient? Well, there's about 480,000 people that get burned in the United States of America every year. That's what the American Burn Association puts out on their website. Of the 480,000 people, about 40,000 receive lifelong treatment. And that's the military, that's first responder, that's civilian, pediatric to adult. So of the 40,000, there's only roughly 120 accredited burn surgeons nationally. Not every city has a burn unit, and not every state has a burn unit. So you can see it's a disaster. And they're getting subpar care. I mean, it's just what it is. Some hospitals are incredible, but that's what my job was, to go talk with these doctors, find out who's really involved. And what I look for in my surgeons is, are they fascinated by the injury? Because if they are, they're going to go the distance to give that person the best outcome. And that's what we look for. So we started a program called the Fellowship Program, where we bring in a doctor in their residency to take on a year follow-on care, which is called a fellowship, which is essentially Sons of the Flag giving a scholarship to a surgeon to become a burn surgeon. In this time, they will train under a real good burn surgeon or the top burn surgeon at the hospital, and they'll learn half the year on working on patient care and half the year on research and development in the lab. So now we're forwarding research and development for a fraction of the cost, and they're helping patients, and that doctor, over the span of their life as a physician, will help thousands of patients. So that's huge right there. So that shrinks that number of 40,000 with somebody who's accredited to do it. The next case of it was doing all these, we've done multiple things for burn patients across the country over the years, funding pediatric burn camps nationally. We were very blessed to partner with Glenn Beck and Mercury One, to be able to fund 14 different pediatric burn camps nationally, which was unbelievably awesome. And looking at different things for families, like sending go bags to these different hospitals so that when you arrive at the hospital and you have nothing to show for it, when your loved one's in the hospital getting surgery, what are you wearing? What does your reinforcements look like? Well, when people are there 24, 48 hours without supplies before anybody gets there. So we deploy these go bags, which have enough supplies, toiletries, blankets, garments, everything from phone chargers, so that they have enough for a 48-hour stay until reinforcements come to help them. But thinking about the last 5 years, traveling the country, talking to these physicians, these nurses, social workers, the patients, the patients, and finding out where the real gaps are at these hospitals. The one big gap is the veteran and first responder community. It's about fixing the patient. That is absolutely the point. So how do we fix the patient? Well, I had an awesome meeting with a doctor named Dr. Martin Robson, who is one of the most prolific burn surgeons in the country. This is where I nerded out a little bit in my 6-year stint at Sons, because I just wanted to meet this guy. Everybody's got their heroes. You want to go meet this athlete or that, public speaker, or Bobby Halton, the man, get that autograph. And this guy, he's just done so much for the community, both on the veteran side, military side, and then the civilian side, that I said, I just want to meet him and I want to bend his ear. So I meet with him, and he says, "Hey, you're Birdman, huh?" I said, "Yeah, sorry, I'm not 6'2", 220 pounds, and look like a Viking, more like a skater punk." And he goes, "I like what you're doing, Ryan, because you're pissing people off." And I said, "No, I'd never do that. Because it's also black and white. You're either going to do the job or you're not. And I don't want to work with you if you're not going to do the job." Because we got people's lives here that we're dealing with, and they may not be dead, but they're certainly injured and they need help. So let's get together, let's team up, and let's crush it. Meeting with Dr. Robson, I said, what I want to do is I want to put together a panel of reconstructive burn surgeons, some of the best in the country. I want them to all form one team. And that way we are a one-stop shop. So when a veteran or first responder gets burned, we can send them to a Skype consultation with these doctors. They will look at them head to toe, assess what their injury is. They will ask the patient what their needs are or what they want, and then they'll also tell them what they can do for them. And then we deploy that patient and a family member out to Tampa, Florida, where they will get their fix. This is by some of the finest doctors. It just doesn't happen in this country right now. So it's basically like if you go to a gun range and you got that local pro that's sitting there with a gun, and then a Navy SEAL walks in the door, or Delta, or whatever Spec Ops community you love the best, and you say, I want to take some training today. Who are you going to go after, the local pro or that Spec Ops guy? Well, I'm going to go after that Spec Ops guy. That's what we've created here, a Spec Ops community or a team of surgeons that can identify the issues that are really happening and then fix them to give them the best quality of life. That's countering down, and that is what Sons of the Flag primary mission is. We call it Mission Reconstruct Freedom. So if anybody in the military or first responder community gets burned, go to sonsoftheflag.org, submit a request, and we'll jump right on you and we'll get you a Skype consultation. So I say all this, and I can go on for hours about it, but like I said before, standing in that minefield, the big thing I have right now is it's easy for me to work with a veteran, easy day, because they have great insurance after they get injured, and we can deploy them anywhere around the country for any surgery. It covers, their insurance covers it. And Sons of the Flag pays all ancillary costs for everything, so there will be no charge to that veteran or first responder. Problem I have, though, is with the first responder community. I'm breaking down doors and I'm running through roadblocks right now because of workers' comp issues in the city. And I'm not going to get political in it, but that's the thing that I'm fighting right now and up against is we got patients out there that have been burned for years, and I can't really help them unless I go deal with the city, manage that, and work through those roadblocks. And I cannot do that with every city in the United States of America. So there needs to be a massive push talking with some higher level management about how do we do this correctly, since we are set up, we've spent the legwork, the hours, putting it all together for you. How do we all work together and utilize us as the asset that we are to help get your firefighters back on the job and fighting? So that's really my plea there.
Well, and you said something, a couple of things I wanted to key in, and one is, you know, if you sit here, you think about having been a paramedic, okay, how many burn centers do we have? We talk about that and how few that we have. Bobby, you remember you were on the show, we had Andy Allison. Andy's a Louisville firefighter. I hired Andy, his dad, you know his story, right? But here's a guy that was misdiagnosed. You know, when a city attempts to, and Louisville is a great city, great city. They take care of their employees, they really do. But you know, when you say, well, if it's a minor deal, we're going to send them to a urgent care instead of ER, you know, or something like that to save some money. You know, Bobby, you talked about it when we had him on the show that, you know, finally the military is gotten to the point where we're treating people for the injuries they have. But we can't get past it because we got to get doctors approved and we got to get workers' comp stuff done. So forth. Here's a young man that is still suffering, and I mean, there's probably 50 things now that he's, you know, whether it's surgeries or anything else, is because they missed it. They missed the thermal burns in his knee. They missed. I mean, I could go on about it. It just pisses me off that we missed this with this young. You know, this is a kid that stands in a grocery store and he can't lift anything heavier than a 3-gallon or a gallon jug of milk. And when his little boy would be like, "Daddy, pick me up," and he can't, people are like looking at him or saying things to him because he looks fine, but he's not. And he's suffered through this, you know. I just, you know, I agree with you. It is frustrating when, you know, we should be receiving that, you know, our vets and our first responders the best care possible, but this needs to be set up ahead of time instead of this afterwards. You know, my son, when he left 29 Palms, they brought him back to fix some stuff at the hospital at Great Lakes, and he talked about the vets he was working with there that are waiting forever for treatment. And there was one, he called me, goes, "Dad, I just had one. He left and he went outside and he shot himself in the car." He goes, "I was the first one to him. There was nothing I could do for him." And he goes, "I just," you know, he's talking about these heartbreaking things. And again, you know, if people truly did care, I think there's a better way to do it, obviously. And if they wanted to fix it, those people, like you said, those that hold all the power, they could fix it if they wanted to. That's
it. And then, like I said, is black and white. So if they don't want to work together to get this thing accomplished, well, I'll figure it out. And I've got some big plans working on right now to fix this problem, because I'm not going to deal with this for too long before I start getting really froggy again. So we're going to make it happen, because I'm not going to let anybody telling me who is not injured how to fix somebody that is injured unless they're accredited.
So that gives everybody kind of a broad overview of some of the really dynamic things that the Sons are doing to make an incredible difference in burn care for America's first responders and military, which is desperately needed. So before we run too short on time, Ryan, everyone is out there in your corner. I couldn't think of a firefighter in America today, law enforcement officer, veteran, active military, who's not in your corner. And we know you'll win, but we want to support the fight. Now, I know they can go to sonsoftheflag.org and buy beautiful swag. Two of my favorite T-shirts are my Sons of the Flag T-shirts, not just because the logo is so incredibly cool, and it is Sons of the Flag, and yeah, it's beautiful, and it also has some historical reference, which for me is mandatory.
Absolutely.
Goes all the way back to the Revolutionary War, which I think is important as Americans. It's a big deal to me. But also, you can get a T-shirt. That helps. You can buy a skull cap. That helps. You can make a donation, or you can attend. Ryan puts on all kinds of cool things all year long, mostly in Dallas, Texas. But Dallas, Texas is a cool place to visit, and Ryan's done stuff elsewhere.
And it's easy to get to.
But you know, like the firemanship days up in Portland, Oregon, Cody Trestle and his guys, they help raise money every year for Ryan's group. Other groups, the other firemanship guys, I think in Harrisburg, are also helping support you, if I'm not incorrect, or one of those groups, right?
So there's multiple groups, and you're absolutely right. I mean, there's multiple events, and I want to caveat this by talking about, you know, how that side, we call it the task force, which is a key ingredient to Sons of the Flag. Is I knew that we needed boots on the ground everywhere, eyes and ears, because we don't have a multi-million-dollar marketing budget. So how do we get boots on the ground to let everybody know we exist, we can help the patient, and to help raise funding in that area? So we got task force leaders, and 95% of our task force leaders we have developed through FDIC and through Bobby. Bobby was so gracious to let us come first year when we created ourselves, and it was just amazing. I was like, man, how do we recruit Bobby? It's like, Bobby runs the whole show here. We don't recruit him. I was like, I want him anyway. He's awesome, motivated. But
let's be honest, Ryan. I'm just a circus performer, and basically I'm a conduit. The task force leaders, the men and women, you know, like Cody, like the other guys that you have around the country that are doing things that you can participate in. All that stuff is on sonsoftheflag.org.
That's right.
When this is over, if you're listening to this at any time, go to that website. You can be a task force leader. If there's not one in your region, you know, get a hold of Ryan, shoot him a note. He'll answer you. It might take a day or two, but Ryan will get back to you, or somebody from Sons will get back to you. You can become a task force leader. Ryan holds different events. You can buy tickets. You could buy tickets and give them to somebody local and sponsor somebody to go in the local area if you can't be there. The film festival every year is just amazing. Meeting somebody like Tommy Franks at the banquet is just amazing. Navajo Code Talkers, Ryan's gotten to come, and so, you know, it doesn't end here. And there's no reason for every firefighter in America. There's no reason for every law enforcement officer in America. There's no reason for anybody who's connected to the fire service, whether you're a OEM, a manufacturer, a service provider, or a retired firefighter, to not be involved with the Sons of the Flag as part of your career, as part of your commitment, as part of your mission, because the Sons of the Flag are part of the fire service. And they started off with fire in their hearts because of what fire does to people. And one of the things that we didn't say, I think, is necessary, as we need to say, is that a burn is forever. A burn. These burns that these men and women, our brothers and sisters, our children, our warfighters, those burns are forever. When we're talking about Sergeant Brown, who's from Texas, he'll go through surgeries for the rest of his life. If you go to the video that Ryan's team put together, there are Oscar and some of these other beautiful men that talk about they have got burns scheduled for the rest of their lives. Because of what they're enduring. We can make that journey a little less painful by buying a hat, by going to great training put on by amazing men and women all around the country. Fire engineering is all in. We're going to do everything we can. FDIC is all in. At every event we do, the Sons are welcome. Any way we can help to raise money for the Sons, we're all in, because it's not something else we do. Sons of the Flag is what we do. It's who we are. And yeah, it says Sons. Maybe someday we'll have Sons and Daughters of the Flag, but the Sons comes from a historical reference, and it's important that we realize that it's not something outside the fire service, and it's not something that you have to qualify. The day you decide to be a firefighter, a cop, a warfighter, you've joined the Sons of the Flag, and you just need to reach out and get basically involved, registered, committed, because failing to do so is failing to meet your basic promise. We leave no one behind. We do everything we can. We never, to quote Winston Churchill, ever, ever, ever give up. And that's just who we are. And Ryan said it better than we ever could. There's no quit in us. I'm humiliated today because last night I was trying to fly to Newark, got caught in an airport for 12 hours, and eventually my injury overtook my abilities. And I realized that if I kept pushing it, I was going to probably hurt myself worse. So I had to pull myself out of the fight. And all day long today, I felt like a loser. I feel like the biggest sissy on the face of the planet. But you know, sometimes we hit a wall, and we got to drop back and do what's right, so we don't hurt ourselves worse or get sick. But participating in the Sons doesn't hurt you at all. So say your state association, like I'm going to reach out to my friends at FASNY, the Firefighters Association of New York, their conference. We want the Sons to be there. make sure that if you're working on putting your state event together, that somebody from the Sons is there, or there's some way to include the Sons in your fundraising efforts, and your ticket price, and your activities, because it's just the right thing to do. And we even got Jeff Kuhl to jump out of an airplane at 16,000 feet, which was pretty amazing, to raise money for the Sons. And I'm hoping Ryan will continue those bird's eye view projects, which is another thing that Ryan, while you have time, why don't you tell people about, because they're going to hear about Sons, they're going to go to Sons, and you're going to see a thing called the Bird's Eye View Project. That's Ryan's inclination to put himself at high risk because he's an idiot, as his mom would say. To put himself at risk continually, to push an envelope as best he can, because as Ryan will say, as we all will say, as we age, that envelope narrows as to what you can do, without really putting other people at risk to come rescue your ass after you get in trouble. But skydiving, all kinds of things that Ryan does to raise money that you can support Ryan to do. He's run 100 miles. He's done those glider deals. He's gotten other people to jump with him, and he's going to do more. He's got more in the works. I know he's planning some, which he'll be announcing. But tell us about Bird's Eye View Project and other opportunities. What's the next thing Sons are doing? How can people register today? How can we get every firefighter in America to be part of the Sons of the Flag?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Bird's Eye View to start. I set that up as an independent marketing arm to support not only Sons of the Flag, but multiple other veteran and first responder charities. One of our beneficiaries is the Rosecrans Florian program run by Chief DeGrice out of Chicago. And it's incredible to be able to partner with other organizations, because Sons of the Flag can't cover down on everything. We're specific to burns. We're very niche. But there are a lot of amputations, a lot of post-traumatic stress, traumatic brain injuries, substance abuse, mental health issues, that we don't have the programs for it. We don't have the funding for it. But why would we do that anyway? Why wouldn't we just partner with experts in those fields? So by creating the Bird's Eye View Project, we've now created a network where we can send the patient wherever they need to go for any type of injury or problem they're facing currently. And we do that through extreme sports, because everybody loves to see risky stuff. They like to sit on the edge of their feet and put themselves in your shoes, and pray that you don't get hurt, but kind of wait to see if you do, kind of, if you will, and do things like wingsuit fly and base jump and, drive cars off cliffs and 100-mile runs and PBR bull rides. And I'm not qualified for any of this stuff yet. I'll do it because it means business. If we can generate eyeballs to see that there are veterans and first responders that are currently struggling right now, and while we live in our normal day and we show up to work and then we go home at the end of the day, there's somebody suffering miserably. And so we have to note that every single day, and we have to do something about it. And I always say this all the time: get up off your ass and do something. If you don't, get out of our country. It's that simple. So with that being said, flag,
I like that.
Yeah.
Works for me.
Yeah.
I like that.
How can you get involved? Simple. Go to our website, check it out, learn about Sons of the Flag. That's number one, because you got to be able to tell people that we exist, because you're going to use us in the future. Somebody that hopefully it's never you or somebody but somebody in the future will get injured. They will get burned. In their firefighter community, you need to have a resource. We are a resource. Utilize us. Go to Sons of the Flag and learn about what we do, and tell your friends. Be more proactive as a firefighter or a first responder or a veteran. Be more proactive towards the things that are out there to help you. If you want to get involved with us, we're always looking for new team members. Our team members have been with us since the beginning of Sons of the Flag, and they're still with us because we have a camaraderie of brotherhood. We get together once a year, all at FDIC. It's an awesome time. It's just crazy, crazy, crazy. I've never seen so many firefighters in one place. But you can imagine firefighters working hard during the day and playing even harder at night. It's a crazy, crazy show.
Hey, Ryan, where are you looking for team leaders right now?
Mostly the West Coast and then the middle part of the states. Real heavily covered down on the East Coast, but I never want to push somebody away who wants to get involved. What we'll have you do is, if you're interested in somebody or a particular state that we have somebody there, you just go along with them and you partner up.
Well, I know, but Rick and I are friends with a great battalion chief in San Francisco. Nicole, you know who we're talking about.
Assistant chief now.
Assistant chief.
Yeah.
Fire. I'm going to shoot her an email right after we get off. Also, there's a cat named Bill Carey who runs Firefighter Nation, who would be a good team leader out in the Maryland area. If you need some support out there, there's some folks that I think should really get involved. And up in Redding, California, the Chief Gary out there, he's a great guy. Monty, those guys should get involved. There's some super guys out there. So we got some West Coast folks who'll be willing to offer up to you.
Hey, bring them on. We want them all. You know, we do this right. You know, we've got a big playbook for things that we've done in the past. Our events range from clay shoots to public speaking to golf tournaments to whatever, and we do all different types of events. But to get involved and to tell people that we exist, to go introduce us to the burn unit in your local area, or to find out that there's not one, you should get more involved. But let's create an army here of Sons of the Flag, or the SODF Army, and let's go conquer the mission of burns. And we call it #FightBurns. Let's go kick it in the ass. So join Sons of the Flag. Go to sonsoftheflag.org. You will not be disappointed. It's run by military and first responders, so there's integrity driven, and we're fired up.
Well, and I'll just say this about Ryan, and I said it earlier, and I hope people understand what it means. He's a member of a team. He's a team player. He's not a glory seeker. It's not about Ryan. Ryan tells his story. He's our brand. He's the face of the Sons, but he's the face of every man and woman who ever raised their hand and said they were willing to risk their lives for others, whether it was a law enforcement officer, or military personnel, or a firefighter. He's our face because he's every man. He always says, I'm not the Marcus Luttrell 6'3", fire breathing dragon, but that's not who 99% of the SEALs are, or 90%. I mean, Marcus is an incredibly large human being and an incredibly lovely human being, and he and his brother served together, are wonderful people. But you don't have to be Superman to be Superman. You just have to have a super heart, and that's what Ryan has. And what's really amazing what's so amazing about Ryan is it's never about Ryan, and it's always been about the mission and the team. And what's cool about being part of a team is it takes so much anxiety out of life to be part of a team, to know that you're not alone. And being in the fire service does that, being in the Sons does that, but knowing that it has so much more depth. It's not about me. It's about identity, and that's what the Sons is about. It's not about any person. It's not about the SEALs. It's not about the firefighters. It's about identity as Americans, that this community of Americans who've agreed to support, defend, and protect other Americans is going to be there for one another and for all Americans who need our help, whenever and wherever they ask, and however we can do it. And as Ryan said, Ryan's not going to reinvent the wheel. If somebody's got a great program for something, let us know what it is, and Bird's Eye View will pick it up and put it on the list. But please go to sonsoftheflag.org right after this conversation. Send Ryan your information. I know there's a tab where they can send you an email, right, Ryan?
Correct.
And get involved, and just do it. Please do it. You'll never regret a minute of it.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Don't be more aggressive. Make sure that you don't wait until you get injured to reach out to Sons of the Flag. Be more proactive about it.
Well, I like the proactive, and again, I'll go back to what you're doing, brother, is the whole No One Left Behind is a whole nother level. It's incredible. I'm just looking at all the messages from folks, and before we go off here, just thanking you, Ryan, for what you're doing. I know you're a very humble guy, and Bobby said it's not about you, it's about what you're doing. But like Chief Joe Kitchen, he can't thank you enough for what you do. There's so many people that are hitting us on Twitter and Facebook. Get involved. To the people that are out there. I mean, there's a lot of things going on there. There's a lot of people climbing stairs and doing things, all kinds of other great causes. That's great. Here's something we need to be doing. This is something that we need to focus on. And again, I think I can speak for everybody. No contribution is too small. Whatever it is you can do, whether it's just you make a purchase, or you attend a program, or you help in any way you can, or you refer someone. If you know someone, like Bobby said, if you know someone that, you know, one of these guys or gals that's a buddy of yours, he mentioned Nicole in San Francisco and a couple other people. If you know someone, you know, someone that really, that's their life, is devoting themselves to that of you know, public service, but also to those that provide it. These are the people we need to refer to the organization to get them involved. So, Ryan, I can't thank you enough, and I'm sure all your contact information I know is on your website. Like I said, you know, Chief Terry McGrath is still at that fire. He just texted Ryan, just so you know, he apologized not being here. He says, I really suck as a co-host. I said, you don't suck as a co-host. You know, you had a fire, you had a structure fire. Terry's awesome. And I know he's
one of your hour now, so he needs to learn how to get those fires under control a little bit.
And he's a huge supporter of yours and loves you very dearly. And I know Bobby does a ton for what you're doing. So, Bobby, any closing thoughts?
No, you know, please, you know, I'm dead serious. Please go to sonsoftheflag.org and check it out. Remember, the call for presentations closes on June 25th. So if you want to speak, please get your proposals into us here at FDIC and Fire Engineering. Humpday Hangouts every Wednesday. They're always going to be happening. And Ryan, when is the next event? When's the next Sons of the Flag event?
Our next big event is in November for Dallas, but we have on our website multiple events around the country that are happening throughout the year. So if you go to the website, you can check back in. It's quite interesting. I yesterday walked into the office and I saw that 2 people were hosting events for Sons of the Flag that I had no idea existed. So it's a blessing.
Well, let's try to make that 2,000.
Bring it on. We're ready for the load. I can handle it.
All right, Ryan, I love you, man.
Love you, brother. And I just want to tell everybody real quick, we were talking about the book, Sons of the Flag, just so everybody knows. If you really, nobody knows who I am, so they don't pick up a copy for me. But the cool book, if you look, I don't know if you can see this, but it's actually forwarded by the man himself.
Oh, stop it.
Chief. And it's a good book. Talks about all the real values in America. So I appreciate your time. And Chiefs, thank you both for having me on. It's been a blessing to work with you. I love you both, and we're always here for you.
Love you, Bird.
We love you too. Hang in there for a second round when we go off here as we close things out. Hey, folks, Bobby mentioned every Wednesday here you can catch some great shows with some great folks. Don't forget about the radio shows in the evening at fireengineering.com. Again, get your class, your proposal. Everybody's been talking about, I wish I could, or I want to teach a class, or I have an idea. You know what? Submit it. You know, there's a whole group of people that are going to go through all those programs a little bit here and try to find that next big thing, because there's always that next big thing out there. So our next show date is June 20th. Again, Central, noon Central and 1 o'clock Eastern. We never, ever end this show or our radio shows without these very special words. And that is, in closing, please keep the men and women serving in armed forces in your thoughts and prayers. And remember, never forgetting means never forgetting. Be safe and God bless you. Thanks, everybody.
Love you, drama.